I'm Gary Nickerson,
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
and this is Outside My Window. Mayor Pam Mood is a homegrown Yarmouth girl who loves her community. In her third term as Yarmouth's mayor, she loves the changes the community has embraced to turn the town around. She is the current past president of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. She's a member of Atlantic Mayors Congress, a team champion for the MIT-REAP project, and sits on too many boards and committees to mention. She was just named to Acadia University's Board of Governors. Mayor Mood is a relationship builder, and she understands that things get done when we're brave enough to tackle anything and push through obstacles. She's the mom of three amazing children who have each found their passions and a proud city to one with another on the way. She believes it's up to each of us to make it better for others. Mayor Mood, always a pleasure to have you on our podcast. Thank you.
My pleasure. Absolutely. I just love being on.
So, first thing I want to ask you, mentioned in the intro when I saw there was a post on the Town of Yarmouth's website, and that's the MIT REAP. What's that all about, and how does that involve communities like Yarmouth?
Yeah, well, actually, Gary, it's a big deal. It's we are working as a team through MIT in Boston, which is one of the obviously the most schools with notoriety, I guess you would say. It's a regional entrepreneurship accelerator program. So what's happened is about 2 years ago, the province approached me and three other mayors and asked if we would set up teams to work with MIT on economic development that would benefit our specific region. So I'm the team champion for Western Nova Scotia, and we have four other teams throughout the province, basically working with MIT to figure out what is our comparative advantage here. You know, what are we great at? What do we need to celebrate economically? And then come together as a team for a must-win battle, we call it. So what will take us to the next level economically? So it's a lot of deep work, and it will benefit the entire region, which is the goal.
So how does that tie in, Mayor Mood, with say, REN, the Western Region Enterprise Network? Is it a companion thing to that?
Actually, when we set up the team, I got to choose the team members. So I'm the team champion, the team lead, but my partner is Angelique LeBlanc, who is the executive director for our REN. And it works hand in hand. Not every place in the province has a REN. We're very fortunate that we do. So we partner, what are the pieces that they can pull into this project, and, what does the rest of the community need to put forward? So really, really exciting things going on there.
So, Mayor Mood, there are, aside from obviously the town council and REN, there are a lot of agencies that all work together to try to develop economic prosperity in the region, trying to attract industry to the town. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, it's a full-time job. The town of Yarmouth has an economic development officer. I think everybody knows Natalie Smith. She's golden. That's the only thing I can say. She's amazing at what she does. I think there's a little bit of concern, when folks are always asking, when are we going to attract a big industry? And my response to that is that would be great, except we all know what happens when a large industry leaves. So, those big companies that hire hundreds and hundreds of people, when they leave, I'm going to try to be diplomatic. They take the back end out of things. That's how I'll be diplomatic and explain that. However, if we do what part of the job of the REN is, which is to help businesses grow. So, help them with exporting and, a little bit of business growth, even at 10%, 15%, anything that's an increase. If every business, for example, could hire one more person because they're doing a little bit of extra business, then you've got that industry piece covered, where you don't need the large industry that will tear the region apart when it leaves, but you have a sustainable model going forward. So that's basically the goal right there.
There's no shortage of jobs. If you look on any of the job posting, if you look on Facebook, businesses, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, pardon me, are just crying for help.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Gary. It's not just that there are a lot of jobs. I think what's going to happen, it's funny because it's almost like the oxymoron. People are saying COVID is going to shut down businesses. It's not COVID that shut down the businesses. It's the fact that people won't go to work. That's the problem. There's plenty of jobs. We've seen businesses say they have to cut back their hours, all kinds of things that they have to do to try to manage because they just don't have enough people working. And let's call it what it is. I mean, CERB was great. We needed it to sustain the economy. Without it, folks it would have just been ugly and dire situation. But you know what? There comes a time where you have to stop that, and people need to get back to work. It really is as simple as that. We're suffering now because people are still sitting at home.
Yeah, the money's going to run out sooner or later, and these CERB recipients are, as you said, they're going to have to get back to work. I just want to expand on that small and medium-sized businesses in the town of Yarmouth, there, Mayor Mood. And can you talk about the importance to the local economy? I mean, obviously, we've got large employers like the fishing industry. We're thankful for that. We've got the hospital. But these small and medium sized businesses are really the backbone of local economies like Yarmouth, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. And, as we all agree, fishery is our mainstay. Tourism certainly is our second. But all of these independent, small and medium-sized enterprises, they really are the backbone of the economy. And I think that sometimes we forget to lump them all in together. So, we look at one business in particular that may only have 5 or 6 employees. But if you take 50 of those, you're looking at 250 employees. So it all adds up, and these small businesses are hiring people. They are local. They're putting money back into the local economy. All those pieces together, it really, really matters. We need to support local. I always say, Amazon and Wayfair are not going to go out of business, but our local folks will. So we have to do as much as we can to support them, or we all fail.
And speaking of that, what's the role of the town when it comes to supporting local business and local business development?
Yeah, so basically the job of the town is simply to set the table. Again, Natalie does a tremendous amount of work with businesses. There are many organizations that work with small and medium-sized businesses in town. That includes the REN, Southwest Employment. So there's a lot of support out there for them. It's the town's job. I guess it goes back to attracting business, which is what people are always saying. You need to go attract business. What we're doing when we do the things like the main streetscapes, the bump outs, the colors, all those things that we put together, that's our job. It's to set the table so that businesses come here and it doesn't look like Tumbleweed Row with everything gray and beige and paint peeling, and nobody's going to set up a business in that environment, and I don't blame them. So you make it feel good, you make it look good, they feel safe, they're supported, facade improvements, mural programs, all those things that we do as a town to make sure that this is a safe place for people to set up a business. That's our job, not to go out there and woo businesses, although we do some of that.
But the same can also be said for doctor recruitment. Certainly, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're going to be looking for what amenities are available, what's around for their kids to do, and what the community is like.
Absolutely. So you're right. Doctor recruitment is just about the same thing. And we have We have doctors coming in all the time just to see, is this the place I'm going to stay? With regard to doctors, it's so tremendously important that folks understand it's not just Yarmouth and Halifax fighting for each doctor. It's the entire world. It's all of the United States. It's international. It's every town and city in Canada fighting for every doctor, every graduate that comes through the city. So you have to pull out all of the stops. And you know what, Quinn? You said the word. It's amenities. So when they come to town, and again, I say this in every interview, people get tired of me saying it, but, the crazy mayor that thinks paint will fix everything. But if we don't paint and make things look good, businesses won't start up. They simply will choose somewhere else to go. And so when you paint, you end up with things like Sip Cafe and the Perky Owl, London Calling. You've got Heritage Brewery, like all these businesses are also amenities because I'm a young doctor coming to town. I want a place besides the brand name big box stores to go have a coffee. I want to talk to the locals. I want to be comfortable. I want to go out and grab a drink after work with my colleagues and meet some new people. That's how this happens. You set up the town for success, and these businesses set up. We call them businesses, but we also call them amenities. Without coffee shops and breweries and restaurants, who's going to stay? They simply aren't, because they can get what they want and need somewhere else. We want them to get it here.
So one of the platform promises in the most recent elections has been, with regards to healthcare, is that, we'll just go out and we'll hire 1,000 doctors. I'd like to know where the 1,000 doctors are coming from. How are we doing here as far as doctor recruitment goes? I know we have the communicator program, and Rebecca Rose has been doing a great job in driving that, but how are we really doing that way?
We're doing very well, but remember, it's all relative. So again, I would repeat the part where every single doctor that graduates, that's going into a residency program, the entire world is fighting for them. There's not, and I talk to mayors all over the country and all over the United States. They are all fighting for the same people. So again, you have to make sure of what you have. I'll tell you one thing that we are so blessed to have that we need to really celebrate is the residency program. And, that's up here at our regional hospital. 5, 6, 7 doctors come in a year. I always go up and meet them. Rebecca is always there as well. She does such an amazing job. And they decide, are they going to stay here? And usually, because they get to go through the residency program and they're not just flying by on a weekend, they're living here in this community. And you hear the stories over and over again. I think Rebecca just posted recently, what a tremendous response the community gave to just some doctors that were in the community, and people didn't even know they were doctors. We just treat people really, really well. And that really matters. People want to feel special. They want to feel at home. So we're doing well because the residency program doctors, the vast majority are staying right here in town.
So back to amenities for a second. So certainly, one that's front of mind in the most recent history is the Mariners on Main. Can you give us an update there? I mean, we see some posts, and I see the Whitecaps are back in the pool. Yay, yay, yay! That's fantastic news. But what's next?
Yeah, the Whitecaps are back in the pool. I think everybody did a happy dance on that. So, in the next week, there will be tours, I believe, and they will be open for business. So they've got updated equipment. They've redone the inside, as much as they possibly can. They've set up for memberships and drop-ins and all of those things that were there, fitness classes. So basically what we lost, for the most part, is back. It's a stopgap, obviously, because we want the Mariner Center out, at the expansion site. We want that to happen. But in the meantime, we've got Mariners on Main, and it's perfect. It's in a great location. we're good to go within the next week.
So the one question that has come up that I've heard people talk about is what what's the plan for the pool once the Mariner Center expansion happens? Is that going to still be maintained and used as a practice pool or seniors programs or what, or will it be decommissioned?
Yeah, so I don't know that we've gotten that far in the conversations. I can just give you my personal opinion. If that pool is in working order, pools cost a fortune to run, by the way, but you just don't dump a pool. You just don't decommission a pool if it's still, has usable life in it. So hopefully we would find a way through that. We think the new pool is going to get a huge amount of use at the expansion site. There's no reason that we couldn't keep the one downtown as well. I mean, aside from funding issues, but where there's a will, there's a way.
As far as Mariner Center expansion is concerned, Mayor Mood, we remember a couple of years ago there was a bit of a glitch where some provincial and federal funding was not available. So where does that stand now? And also, what about your municipal partners, municipality of the District of Yarmouth, and to some degree the municipality of the District of Argyll?
Yep. So the expansion is, all three units are at the table. We've done a huge amount of work to get us to this point. Drawings and what is this going to look like? A lot of conversation about what is needed. Of course, you have to match that with dollar figures. So, we're over a $30 million project right now. We are looking at the federal government and provincial governments, obviously, to come in and do their part in this. It's a regional asset, obviously, and the partners are at the table. We're all sitting there and doing our part to move it forward as quickly as we can.
Keeping with the theme of amenities, I want to go back to the overall things like the facade program, and in fact, I wanted to ask you, the town recently received an award from Communities in Bloom.
We did, and I can't recall exactly what the name of that award was. I just read it briefly, but the town, when it comes to Communities in Bloom, obviously a couple of years ago we hosted the World. And when I say the world, I mean, everybody from Hungary to Japan and Italy, everywhere, was in little old Yarmouth, the smallest place that ever hosted. And we continue to put our best foot forward in every way we can. So, we end up being on that national stage with awards like this.
I believe my phone's out of reach, so I can't look, but I believe it had to do with the flowers and all of that, and so
Yeah.
that's sort of the point I wanted to further with you, Mira Mood. The facade program. I mean, we remember years ago what the town looked like. No criticism of former councils at all, but it was really drab looking, and now it's alive. You've got the bump boats. I know everybody has their opinion about the bump boats and the lobster cars. I've had the opportunity with some friends to go through town, and I just, I love it. It looks amazing. I wish my dad were alive. He was a downtown businessman for years. He would be just amazed at what's happening. And as you said, it's important to have amenities to attract new business and doctors and all of that. But does it not also show to people outside of our area and in the town of Yarmouth and surrounding communities that the town really has a vision, that it cares about what the town looks like?
Oh gosh, what a question! Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no words to express other than what you just said. The town does have a vision. It's our job to have a vision. It's our job to get us from point A to wherever we're going. It's little baby steps, and it's knowing that it's going to make a difference. These little pieces that you're putting together, and then you can see the full picture, which is what we're seeing right now. I mean, the downtown blueprint was in existence before I became the mayor, It's just that nothing was done, and so we just keep taking those steps one at a time. Um, Everything from, like you said, the lobster cars to the bump outs, the greenery, painting the facades, sidewalks, everything. What we're trying to do is create a place where everybody is welcome. It feels good. It's busy. And Gary, I mean, if your dad were alive, he'd say the same thing because he would remember the foot traffic on Main Street. And we're getting back to that now. The sidewalk sales and the activity and I always say this too because for me, when seniors our most vulnerable citizens, when they can't make their way downtown because there's nowhere to sit, there's nowhere to rest, they don't feel comfortable because it's dirty and decrepit. Like, that's just not right. The downtown is a place. It's the heartbeat, not just of the community. Downtown Yarmouth is the heartbeat of the entire region, and it has to be strong for the region to be strong. It's really as simple as that. And as difficult as that because it costs a lot of money, and but we have to do the work to get us there. Well, we're almost done. I think everybody will have a standing ovation there because some folks are tired of all the work that's being done, but we had to take it on. So we are we're finishing up some streetscape pieces. We're doing some of the trails that will get us, throughout the town. So I would say, we're just about done here. It looks great. It feels great. And I understand and I respect the different opinions on things like the lobster cars and, the seating bump outs and things like that. But if you go anywhere in the world that's successful, the successful communities, this is what they're doing. And we can't stay in our little corner of the world and pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. What we have now are people coming into Yarmouth from all over the world, and they land here just by chance, and they end up staying here because they love it. But that's because of the work that's being done.
So the next obvious topic, I guess, for us to talk about, and it's a tough one, is the ferry. How do you feel about where things are right now when it comes to the ferry, and the odds of things continuing in its current form?
Actually feel pretty good about it. There are a lot of factors to take into consideration. We need to stop worrying about the ferry terminal in Bar Harbor and the ferry terminal here. That's work that's being done. It'll be done by the time the ferry starts in the spring of 2022. With regard to the provincial government, you know what? Tim Houston has said over and over that he'd like to look at that contract, and if that's what he wants to do, then take a look at it. But um, let's not sit here and pretend that we think it's such a bad deal. Maybe it's a good deal, and that's why it hasn't been opened. So he'll probably take a look at that sooner or later, and if there's some tweaks that need to be made, but I'm not convinced that any leader would, well, save the NDP, but anybody else would be uninformed enough to remove the ferry service. It's an international link. It brings in tourists. It's just, we need the ferry. Actually, the entire province needs it. So.
And I guess that's where I was headed with that, Mayor Mood, is that this is not a Yarmouth ferry.
No.
This is a Nova Scotia ferry.
Yes, which I have a little bit of an issue with, because if it's a Nova Scotia ferry, the Nova Scotia government has done its job, as far as funding. This is a federal ferry. Call it what it is. It's an international link that goes from one country to another country, and the feds are nowhere to be seen. Save for a little bit of money, for the ferry terminal. In my estimation, this should be 1,000% funded by the federal government, just like the other ones are.
So the town and the municipalities pitched in to get that job done when it came to the ferry terminal. Was that a necessity? Was that the only way it was going to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need a ferry terminal for a ferry to run, but the Canadian Border Services, their stations were outdated. They had to have all that redone. There were just so many factors. So, it took a complete revamp, and the price tag for phase one was $10 million. So, the municipalities stepped up, thankfully. The province put in some money and the federal government put in some money, but going forward, this cannot be at the expense of local taxpayers. We will always do what's right to protect that service, but we have to have that tough conversation with the federal government. This just does not belong in the laps of local taxpayers.
So I guess that leads into one of the things that I think we talk about every time we have you on, whether it's on my Eastlink show or when Gary had you on the Weekender from before, is who's responsible for what. So
Oh my gosh.
let's do I know we could talk for a long time on this, but let's do a mini civics lesson. Where does the responsibility lie when it comes to the town versus the provincial government versus the feds?
Well, if you have a little bit of a sense of humor when I say this, because I say it with a little bit of laughter, but it's true. I always say to people, if you leave work and you drive home through town on a reasonably paved road with most of the street lights going, and when you get home, you can flush your toilet and have a drink out of two separate sources, you're welcome. The town has just done their job. That's it. We provide services. When it comes to, and this is tremendously difficult, I can't even, every single one of our council members, our staff, this is just what really hurts us to the core, because we don't have control over any of healthcare. We don't have control over housing. Healthcare is provincial. Housing is a provincial initiative. All those big pieces are either federal or provincial, and people come to me as the mayor, and they come to council members looking for housing, looking for a doctor, looking for health care. That's education. My child wants to go to one school instead of another. That's provincially mandated. So, what I wish that the school system would actually teach this type of thing, because folks just don't understand who does what. And I've said this to the Prime Minister, and I've said it to every premier. In the end, everything that happens, whether it's provincially, federally, or locally mandated, it lands in the laps of your municipally elected officials, because we see these people face to face every single day, and they don't know what to do. It's pitiful. They don't know what to do, and so they know us because we're in their community, and they think that it's our responsibility, and it's not. It's not that we want to pass it off or anything. It's just we have zero control over things like education and healthcare and housing. We just don't.
Something as simple as roads. So within the town, you're responsible for all of the kilometers of road within the town limits. But as soon as you step outside town limits, it becomes part of the province because of the way the other two municipalities are set up. So that's one big thing that people
That's
don't.
the biggest.
Yeah, that people don't quite grasp how that part kind of goes. Even something like snow removal. You do all the snow removal within the town.
We do. So I'll explain it like this, and understanding that we are the service center for the entire region. The town of Yarmouth is the service center, and we own that, and we're glad to be that. But with that comes a huge cost. So, for example, we have 6,700 people that live in town. A lot of these folks in town don't even have vehicles. We don't need vehicles because the town is so small. But every weekday, we have 25,000 people in town. So it's the folks that are driving from out of town into town for jobs, because we are the service center, the hospital, all these places that people work, and they're driving on our roads that we pay for. Now, again, we're glad to have them, and that's not the issue. The issue is That there was an agreement with the province, and this is what ended up happening. The towns pay for their own roads, and when you cross the street, in the municipality, those roads are looked after by the province. It's atrocious. It's the worst deal ever, and somebody needs to be taken to task for it. That needs to be fixed. Um, it's just wrong on every level.
But that can't be the only scenario that puts you at odds with the way in which things are run.
Oh no, absolutely. It's the little things. People are screaming about the deer population in town. Well, I would love to be able to fix that. First of all, if you get caught feeding the deer, you're going to get a $1,500 ticket, whether you like it or not, because don't feed the wildlife. Um, but natural resources will go outside of town limits, help them with their issue, but they refuse to step foot inside town limits. Well, I wouldn't suggest the issue is outside of town. That's where the land is. That's where the trees are. The issue is in town, and yet they won't come in town to help us with our issue, and we're not allowed to handle it ourselves. So all those little things that just
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Well, since you brought up the deer, is there a plan? Is there anything on the table at all as to what you could possibly do? I know your hands are tied in a lot of cases there, but
Our hands are tied, and I have people calling me with great concerns, and folks just they don't understand this. I think sometimes people are selfish in their thinking. I'll get in trouble for saying that, but that they think the deer are cute and they love to feed them. Well, you know what? If they were staying in your own backyard, that would be one thing, but they're in other people's yards. And the dogs are getting the deer ticks on them, and they're bringing them into the house, and the children are getting Lyme disease, and the adults are getting Lyme disease. People are sick.
well, you hit them with your car too.
You hit them with your car. I get calls all the time about the poor deer with broken legs. Well, they're running in town, so they go into the grates. Their hooves go into the grates, and they snap their legs, and it's just there's 100 different things that just says the deer just don't belong in town. They carry diseases. They're dangerous. We've already lost one person's life. We've had people knocked off of bicycles. People on the tracks that just about get sideswiped by the deer. It's just dangerous, and we need some help with this, but we can't get them to come in and do anything except to tell us to count the deer droppings. Well, trust me, there's a lot of deer poop. So now let's fix it.
That's only one thing we need to worry about.
That's right. Mayor Mood, the town of Yarmouth is finishing up paving on Parade Street. That's the final phase of another major infrastructure project
Yeah.
where pipes and all of that are being replaced. And, I hear some people say, well, why can't the town take some of the money that they got to do that major infrastructure program and put it into fixing potholes, whatever. It doesn't work like that, does it?
No, it absolutely doesn't work like that. So I want to say this: we have an amazing staff. Our park staff, our public works, our every staff member. We've got one heck of a team here. They know what they're doing. They're the experts in these various fields. If we could take money from one pot and put it into another and patch up holes, we would do that. But number one, the roads in Yarmouth, agree or not, but it's a fact, are a whole lot better than they are in an awful lot of other places in the province or in the country. They really are. For some reason, folks think they're going to drive in town, they're going to be brand new streets. They're not. So drive a little bit slower, be a little bit more careful, and understand there's going to be. I haven't seen a pothole in years, obviously, but the roads are bumpy because we have to repatch. The problem in town is, for example, we just did Brown Street there a couple years ago, Brown Street and Cliff Street. That's millions of dollars because we can't in this town. We can't just pave streets. We have to dig up all the infrastructure because it's so old that we can't pave over it. It's crushing. So we dig it up, we replace it to the tunes of millions of dollars, and we move on to the next street. So we're doing the best we can. We're sorry, that the roads aren't smooth, but with infrastructure beneath the roads in such bad condition, you're going to get bumps. It's as simple as that.
It's like a Mike Holmes TV show. You never know what you're going to get till you start peeling back the layers.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yep. Same as a TV show that's being filmed here now. Yeah.
Oh, well, we've heard about that. Obviously, it's going to be great to see what that all comes out at. But I mean, Mandy certainly is a go-getter.
Yeah, she absolutely is, and she has the best intentions. This is her hometown. She wants to celebrate her hometown with the world, and don't forget that this HGTV is not just Canadian; it's American. It's sold worldwide. So once again, we're going to be on the world map.
Mayor Mood, I want to ask you about women in politics, and we've chatted about that over the years. We have seen recently where some women in politics were perhaps, unfairly treated. I guess that's a matter of opinion. Sort of a two-part question here, Your Worship. First of all, are there enough women in politics? And secondly, are they being treated the same as men in politics?
Oh, that's an easy one. Women in politics are not even treated close to the same as men in politics. I don't think I could wear the same dress twice in 1 year without being tormented and trashed and abused. But a man can wear the same suit jacket for 365 days in a row. Nobody says a word. Just little things like that. So what I look like, my weight, what I wear, my friends, my hobby, everything I do, every decision I make, it's not just questioned, it's torn apart. So I don't care. I don't care about me because I'm going to do what I believe is right, regardless of name calling. I always say, if you think that the number of names that you call me is going to change my decision making, then you put your ex on the wrong spot. The problem I have is that more women, especially young women, see what the women go through, and they just sit back and say, there is no way that I would step into the public realm and go through that abuse. So we're missing women in politics because,
and it is abuse. I'll interrupt you for a second there, Mary. It is abuse.
It is abuse. Yeah, it is.
Some of the comments that I've seen online directed towards politicians in general, not necessarily just women. If it was your kid, it would be classified as cyberbullying. So why is it okay to do it to an adult? I don't get that.
No, and it's not okay, but you know what? I always say, consider the source. I've had many people not say it to me, because heaven forbid they have the guts to look me in the face and say it, because they don't. But they would go online and say, well, she ran for public office, so she knew what to expect. She walked into this, and we have a right to hold our officials accountable. Well, hold me accountable. Ask me a question. Tell me you think I'm doing something, that I should be doing differently. Those are conversations. That's not name calling. That's not, folks already know. I've had to leave my house twice, my own home under police watch twice, because of death threats. Like, what is that?
It's ridiculous is what it is.
It is ridiculous. And so, people say, well, we can't get any good politicians. Well, if you keep treating the ones that you have the way you do, you're darn right you're not going to get any good ones. You're going to get what you get. So
bang on.
I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah. I guess we've just got to be kinder. I don't want to sound all Pollyanna, but gosh, over the last couple of years, more than that,
Hmm.
You see these Facebook warriors
Yeah.
and just nasty,
Yeah.
nasty comments. You see
Yeah.
more now. People have different opinions about the
Hmm.
vaccination and the passports and all of that.
Hmm.
But what happened to us, Mirmood? Why can't we simply have uh, a an adult conversation? And yeah, I may not agree with you on one point, but we used to be able to discuss it like adults
That's right.
and have a good conversation.
because we because we were brought up to disagree with the issue, not the person. And that's how I was brought up. That when my grandfather was the mayor, I worked in the store a lot after school, and he would come in, and people would come into the store, and boy, their blood was boiling. It was funny to watch, and he'd flip over the two wooden Pepsi crates, and he'd say, "Have a seat in my office." And the two of them would talk. They'd talk through it, and they'd stand up and they'd shake hands. And sometimes they said, "Yeah, you know what? Good, you changed my mind." Other times they'd say, "Well, we have to agree to disagree, but I really respect you." We've lost that, and I'll tell you why. Because we're not. We don't have to look at people in the face. The same people that tell me what a lovely job I'm doing and thank you for pushing forward and you're brave and all those things, they go on social media and trash. So it's easy to do that when, as you said, you're a keyboard warrior, just typing it up and hit the send button. Let's have at it. But I'll say this as well. I love this community. And the ones that, and people ask me this all the time, like, Mayor, how can you're so graceful to the people that are the meanest to you? And I said, you know what? When people, when someone treats a human being as badly as some do, they need they need us more than anybody else. So I think that you don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm just going to trash everybody I bump into. If that's the case, then you know what? Somewhere you're hurting. And that's my job to figure out, what is it I can do as a community leader to help you, with your situation so that you don't feel so bad and you don't attack, really.
And I agree with you 100% there. And hey, we're using social media to reach people with our podcast because we're using Facebook as
Hmm.
our group.
Yeah.
But, social media has a purpose per se, but when people use it as a weapon,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
entirely different ball game.
Hmm.
And
It is.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, I'm going to make the decisions that I believe are best. So name calling, abuse, it's not going to work with me. But remember, you are holding some really, really great people back from taking public office because they just simply they refuse to do that. They refuse to do it to their families because my kids read everything that's written about me. That's hard. So I've got a granddaughter that stay off of social media, but she won't. She'll see what her city is, putting up with, but it doesn't stop me.
Well, I think everybody got a taste of no social media the other day when they had the Facebook outage for 6 hours.
That was the best hour of my life.
Wasn't it? Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Oh, geez, people actually had to talk to each other.
I
Pardon the
know.
sarcasm, but I mean, oh my lord. People wanted to go online and complain, but oh, wait a minute.
I can't.
Yeah, that's right.
Geez, what's my password to MySpace? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was good.
Just in wrapping up, Mahmood, I want to ask you, we've talked about all the wonderful things that are going on in the town of Yarmouth. And I want to ask you about all the volunteers. We see them out with the garden club and all of that, doing their wonderful work. But there's so many uh, folks out there that are helping out on so many different avenues.
Yeah, it's really difficult to put the gratitude into words for our volunteers, and we've seen it. When we have events, you know, everybody steps up. What can I do to help this community move forward? It sounds like the old all hands on deck, mantra. What can I do to help this community? And they're weeding gardens, they're painting buildings, they're helping with activities. But these people are the lifeblood of this community, and they're not complaining about what isn't. They're adding to the community by beautifying it. And when I say beautifying, I don't just mean physical. I mean mentally. For us to see somebody on their knees weeding in a garden, they're not getting paid for that. It's just out of the sheer joy of helping out. That goes a long way. It goes a long, long way. And our I say my church, that there's Love Week coming up, and the community is going to be challenged. What can we do to help each other? To uplift each other. It's really important. And I'll say this as well, because it's probably the most important. What moves a community forward the fastest and the most is attitude. And I think you both know, I mean, I have fought this tooth and nail to turn the attitude around of this community, to show people like this is one heck of a place to live. We care for each other. We look after each other. But when we have the best attitudes, that's when we draw people here. That's when things go forward, and that's the biggest community builder ever.
And one of the big cruxes, I guess, or uses of volunteers is our fire department.
Absolutely, and they've done such an amazing job especially this year of recruiting. We've got a new fire chief, and Chief DeVue, and he's just going great guns, convincing people that we need volunteers. I mean, firefighting is. I want to. I guess when I think about our firefighters, I don't want to say I get warm and fuzzy. I just have so much respect for them that it's hard to put into words. This is, people that have families and jobs, and yet they're stepping up in probably one of the most dangerous situations they can be in, and they're serving their community. So, there's always space out there. We just hope more people sign up.
So as we round the corner of Halloween and move ourselves into the holiday season, let's look ahead to 2022. What comes front of mind for you as to what we can look forward to in 2022?
My hope for 2022 is that COVID gives us a break, that we all take a step back, and we can see, how far we've come. And even more important, that we realize through what we've been through with COVID, what are our priorities? What's really important to us? And I think, for many of us, at a municipal level, at a personal level, we've been doing things simply because we've always done them, and we've learned different ways to tackle issues because of COVID. And my hope is that, life is simplified, life is better for people. All those pieces, and I can say my biggest hope for 2022 is that we get some housing issues settled, and people have safe places to live, and we've got programs in place that will take care of those types of issues.
Mayor Mood, we can't thank you enough. I enjoy talking to you so much. I love your positivity. Thank you so much for your time.
You are most welcome. I want to thank both of you for what you're doing too. It's a great thing for the community. It brings people together. People get excited to listen to the podcast. So, good on you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this has been Outside My Window.